Everyone, welcome to the show. So, Democratic Party leadership is up to their same old BS tricks again, and this actually could cost us a lot in the midterms. Before I get into this story, please do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button below this video. It is free for you, it really helps. So, here's what's going on. As I'm sure you guys have all heard by now, David Hogg announced that he has this group, or he didn't announce he has a group, but everyone knows he has this outside group that he co founded, and that they were planning, this is what he announced, that they're planning to spend $20 million to primary certain Democrats who, in their view, are not rising to the occasion and doing what needs to be done to try to change the direction of the party. So Hogg said, quote, "The reason we're doing this is to get the Democratic Party into fighting shape. Right now, it has become abundantly clear that the base of our party feels like we are not doing anywhere near enough to stand up to Donald Trump." This is very true. We have seen this in the polling over and over again. So this shouldn't come as a shock. It's not like, oh my God, what is he talking about? Why is he doing this? This is so blatantly obvious to everyone with eyes and ears and two brain cells. Nevertheless, this caused this big brouhaha. There was a meltdown in party leadership because, as I'm sure you guys also know, Hogg was just recently seated as the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. So you have pundits and you have Democratic elites out there melting down on cable news and on podcasts. Infamously, James Carville freaked out. He insulted Hogg, said, he doesn't know what he's doing. He needs to get out of leadership if this is what he wants to do. But this is where the majority of Democratic voters are. This is what they want. It is also what left-leaning independent voters want. The voters are tired of the status quo. They're tired of representatives who are unwilling or unable to stand up and fight. So last month, there was a nationwide poll that proved this, that showed that Democratic leadership has the worst approval rating in more than 20 years. I've been sharing these polls with you guys. And in Georgia, a state that we all know is crucial for the Democrats to win in the midterms and the next presidential election, Democrats are way underwater. So according to the latest Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll, this is of registered voters in Georgia, only 35% of the respondents had a favorable view when they did this poll of the Democratic Party. 58% view the Democrats unfavorably. They said it's the lowest approval rating for Dems in their entire 9 years that they have been conducting these Atlanta Journal-Constitution polls. And look at how they compare with the Republican Party. This is just pathetic. They're also underwater, but nowhere near as much. So 42% of respondents have a favorable opinion of the Republicans. 51% view them unfavorably. So again, that was among Georgia registered voters. That may seem insane. I think it's insane that people would view the Republican Party more favorably. But here's the thing. This is why people like the Republican Party, they fight. They scrap, they do whatever the hell they need to do to win. And they do what the majority of their base wants them to do. The Democratic Party does the complete opposite. For the most part, they have been weak, they have been feckless, and when it comes to elections, party leadership acts like they're just the end-all be-all. They act like they know what's best. And so they ignore the will of the voters. They act like, oh, we know better than you. So just sit there, don't worry your pretty little heads about it. We're going to take care of it. And we're going to install the person that we think can win and is in the best interests of the party. So case in point, they are now trying to oust David Hogg as the vice chair. This week, the DNC began a process that would allow them to remove Hogg. So the DNC is blaming this all on procedure. They're saying that, oh, well, you know what? As it turns out, we didn't follow our proper party rules, which state that the DNC's governing body should try to achieve gender parity. This is the stuff that makes me insane. And it's why so many people have turned away from the party. Um, Now, there's a DNC member named Kaylin Free. I think that's how you pronounce her first name, Kaylin. She had brought a challenge against Hogg's appointment. And to be fair, she did bring this challenge even before he announced his plans to primary Democrats. She basically said, you know, you didn't make it fair enough that you would elect a woman or that a woman could win. Personally, I'm sorry, but I just think the best person for the job should be elected. I don't think that it needs to be, oh, just because she's a woman, we need to nominate and elect her to this position. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think there are women who are more than qualified and they would do a great job, but it should be an equal and level playing field. It should not be slanted just because they want quote unquote gender parity. It's bullshit. But so it seems like the DNC is saying, you know, we're going to take this and we'll use this excuse to get rid of him. So they are all too happy to use Free's complaint as an excuse to try to oust Hogg. Here's what really pisses me off about this. Party leadership has no problem in plotting against and trying to primary progressive candidates. They have done this on multiple occasions. They have gone against and gone after people like AOC, like Ilhan Omar, like Rashida Tlaib. No problem with that. That is totally within bounds, according to them. They only care when someone tries to get rid of the old guard, when someone tries to primary a corporate hack. I don't know if you guys remember this, but party leadership was holding secret meetings during the 2020 election. This was actually in 2019, they were holding these meetings to try to figure out how to stop Bernie Sanders from winning the nomination in the 2020 presidential primary. So you can see this article here on the screen. For those on the podcast, I'm showing a New York Times article. And buried deep in this article is the excerpt that says, quote, the matter of what to do about Bernie and the larger imperative of party unity has, for example, hovered over a series of previously undisclosed Democratic dinners in New York and Washington, organized by the longtime party financier Bernard Schwartz. The gatherings have included scores from the moderate or center left wing of the party, including Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the minority leader, former Governor Terry McAuliffe of Virginia, Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana, himself a presidential candidate, and the president of the Center for American Progress, Neera Tanden. I have never and will never trust Pelosi, Schumer, Buttigieg, Neera Tanden, Terry McAuliffe ever since this article came out in 2019. We'll never trust them again. I mean, you have a group of party leadership meeting with one of the presidential candidates at the time, Pete Buttigieg, to talk about how to do an end run and stop another candidate in that same race from becoming the nominee. How to finagle it, how to, work outside of the system, how to undercut him, cut his legs out from under him, however you want to say it. That is sickening. That is absolutely sickening. Instead of going, you know what, let's just get behind the populist that could put an end to Trump's fake populism. Instead of saying, let's let the voters decide. Let's not try to mess with anything. Let's let our voters choose who they want. So they screwed over Bernie in 2016, gave some of his delegates to Hillary Clinton, and then they secretly plotted against him in 2020. And then we all know how it worked. Barack Obama, according to reports, picked up the phone, started calling all of the other candidates, and told them to get out of the race so that it would be down to Bernie and Joe Biden, and said, you need to get behind Joe Biden. You guys all need to line up. You need to get in line and shut your mouths. And the only thing you're allowed to say is that Joe Biden is the only candidate who can win. And then we're going to pump that same message out through mainstream media, through MSNBC, through CNN, that you have to go with the centrist, got to go with the guy who can beat Trump. And that person is Joe Biden. So over and over again, they've done this to progressives. But if you try to do it to one of their moderates, to one of their corporate controlled candidates, they lose their freaking minds. They truly believe that they are the ones who should be dictating to all of us who we should elect when it comes to a progressive. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to win. Even though we see now that Bernie Sanders absolutely could have taken Donald Trump's lunch in 2016, 2020, and 2024 if he wanted to. So, I mean, this is the same reason why they canceled several of the state primaries in 2024. Would not even allow a primary in the 2024 election to test Biden, to see if he was the best candidate and who people wanted. And then they refused to have debates. They're like, no, we're not going to do debates with our primary candidates. Dean Phillips was there, Marianne Williamson, Cenk Uygur. You know, we could have avoided that catastrophe at the last minute in June of 2024, where Biden, you know, had a meltdown and pulled a Mitch McConnell freeze frame and then couldn't even get off the stage by himself. But instead, no, they decided we're going to shut everything down. This is who we're going with. And then by the time that whole thing happened at the debate, it was too late. It was too late to have a true primary, to truly, you know, bump up whatever candidate, not even just Kamala Harris, but any candidate. It's tough for them to run a 100-day campaign. And what's crazy is they still can't get it through their thick skulls that this crap is driving people away from the Democratic Party. So it is their fault that Trump keeps winning. It is their fault that so many of Bernie supporters moved over to Trump because they were tired of the status quo and go along to get along and vote blue no matter who. They're tired of the system and the way it screws over average Americans, all to push everything to the top 1%. So anyway, as for this whole issue with Hogg, and to get back to him, he is doing the right thing. And let me be clear, and I don't think people always understand this. He is not talking about using DNC money to primary these candidates and these incumbents. He is talking about using an outside group with outside money. He just happens to be in a position of power now in the DNC. So this is insane. I mean, if he said, I want to use DNC money, I would understand them maybe a little bit being more upset with him. And check this out. Even with everything going on with Trump and all of his numerous violations of the constitutions, or of the Constitution, 16 Democrats just recently voted, along with Republicans, to confirm another one of Trump's nominees. These are the people who need to go. That was at the end of April. On May 2nd, just earlier this month, Sludge news outlet reported 5 Democrats voted with the Republicans to increase the Pentagon budget to more than $1 trillion. Something that the majority of voters across party lines totally disagree with. They can't even have a successful audit. The Pentagon has not successfully gone through an audit in like 7 years. We don't even know what they're doing with all of our tax dollars over there. And these jackasses want to hand them more money. They're going along with what Donald Trump wants to jack up the Pentagon budget. Those 5 Democrats need to go. And on April 30th, 3 Democrats asked to be removed as co-sponsors of an impeachment resolution to try to impeach and remove Donald Trump from office. They have no spine. They have no spine. They have no ovaries. Again, these people need to go. So yes, David Hogg is doing the right thing. They're pathetic, they're weak, and they are not doing what needs to be done in this moment where we are literally staring down the barrel of fascism and authoritarianism. And they are going along with the fascist. They are going along with Hitler 2.0. So don't tell me they don't need to be kicked out, that they should not be primaried. They should be primaried every freaking day of the week and twice on Sunday. So anyway, we'll see how this ends up with David Hogg, but I would imagine they're going to get their way. They're going to kick him out. And guess what? That's going to piss off a whole hell of a lot of Gen Z voters. The ones who turned their back on the Democratic Party just, 8 months ago in the election. So keep at it, DNC. Keep at it, Democratic leadership. The fact that Chuck Schumer will not retire, so many of these people will not retire and will not step aside or will just not do what is needed of them in this moment is thoroughly just demoralizing. So anyway, guys, I will keep you posted on all of this. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.